Before we begin this podcast, please be advised that the following episode contains language that some listeners may find offensive and inappropriate. The opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect the views of the podcast producers. Listener discretion is advised.
In the last episode, we looked into Brandon's childhood and discovered the past that made him who he is today. From his mother's drug use to his childhood felonies, Brandon's life was a forever evolving wreck. We now get a glimpse of the events leading up to the death of Michael Utley and Brandon's state of mind that fateful day on this episode of Voices of a Killer.
That day that you do go over there, what is the purpose of you going to an ex-girlfriend's house?
Well, I mean, for one, that's not the way it even transpired. When I was on Monroe, which is a few blocks from down the road or whatever, and me and a friend took off walking there, and actually our goal was that night we were drinking a little bit.
What was the goal of walking there?
What's that?
What was the goal of walking to your ex-girlfriend's?
Well, I had just went by we were close to the house, walking down that street, and I told my friend, I said, hey, I should stop by and see what's going on. That's all. That was really all.
Oh, so just randomly in the area, wanted to say hi?
That was really what it was about, and I didn't think that it was really I'm not going to lie and say that I think that this woman still was really had hatred towards me or was anything I was in trespassing or any of that. I would have never even went there. We had texted a couple of times, so I thought maybe, okay, it'd be all right. It wasn't I'm going in there to start any trouble at all whatsoever, Even if I thought I was unwanted, I wouldn't have been there. You know what I mean? So I don't understand, the way that everything, it wasn't just I thought it was okay, literally.
Let me ask you this. If I were to ask your ex-girlfriend that we're talking about right now, would she say you came over there for different reasons or you were just there popping by?
I don't think she would say I was there for different reasons, but the way she said it was I wasn't invited.
When news broke about the shooting and killing of Michael Utley, the media quickly painted Brandon as a jealous ex-boyfriend who had broken into the home to go after a woman. But as the story unfolded, it became clear that Brandon's intentions were far less sinister than they were made out to be. What was described as a premeditated burglary was, in reality, a spontaneous visit. This detail casts Brandon in a different light compared to the dangerous person the jury was led to believe. Brandon makes it clear that under no circumstances was he ever under the impression that he was forbidden to enter the house. He claims to have been on good terms with his ex-girlfriend, and if he had been asked to leave, he would have immediately. The courts also left out key details, such as Brandon's actual intentions that night and the nature of the house he visited. These missing elements might have given the jury a different perspective. While this doesn't excuse what happened, it does affect how Brandon was represented in court.
So now let me ask you, so you guys are on foot and just step by step, you will go over there. Tell me what this apartment looks like. Is it on the second floor? Is it a duplex? What is it?
It's a house. It's a 2-story house.
Where's she at, on the top or bottom?
I'm guessing she was upstairs. I never made it that far.
So
that's where she lived prior to me.
So you're approaching the house with your friend. Y'all have a gun on you?
Yeah, we both did.
So what would the purpose of two guys, how old were you at the time?
I was 36, I think, or 35, 36. I think 35.
Yeah, and I ask a question, then I pretty much know the answer. It's for protection, but, usually two guys walking around, I don't know, it's just kind of bulky to have a gun. What was your purpose of having a gun?
I just would say, just walking through where we were at. It was pretty, I'm not going to lie, it's usually pretty rough at all times around there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wasn't intending on doing anything anyway.
Sure. According to the charges, you weren't intending either, but to move forward, y'all start approaching the house. What do you see? You see him outside, her outside? Is it just nobody?
No, there was no one outside. The door was open, and no one was outside.
The door was open?
Yeah, the door was open.
Did you go in?
Door. We had go in through the back. So we would basically, what it was is the house facing the street, and the front door was usually locked or bolted, and which I had tried, and no one came to the door, and I had hollered out, her name, whatever. So I went around the side because I know previously to go in there, we could go around the back and go in. So I went around the back.
I mean, keep in mind, this is your ex-girlfriend's house. So like that's starting to push it to where you're like, one door, that doesn't work. Let me go around to the next one.
But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of crazy because it was just like I don't know. I was just.
I know. I get it. Were you
the type of?
Sure. Were you on drugs?
No, I wasn't using drugs. I guess like some pills and stuff. Yes.
Sure.
And like
not like meth though. You weren't like meth and crack or nothing.
No.
Okay. All right. So you go around the back.
About the house, like,
when you go around the back is open.
Yeah, the door's open.
What'd you do? You went in?
Yeah, I knocked on the door. And asked, even, going through the threshold, knocked the door and asked, hey, was there anybody there or whatever? And I asked for her name a couple of times and didn't hear anything. And then, like a few minutes later, I walked in there. But like I said,
sure,
went in there.
So let me ask you this: just so people understand that are listening, the going through the threshold of the door, that's what landed you the burglary charge.
I'm not sure. I'm guessing.
I think you walking right through that threshold of the door is where you landed the because you did get a burglary charge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just taking, I wanted to take just one step back. I'm not to drag on anything else, but not only her just there, I knew other people also in the house.
Okay.
So that's another thing. Like, not just like knew them well, but just kind of through her and stuff. But I met them and stuff like that. So anybody that, and I didn't really have any problems with anybody there or nothing like that either. So like,
sure.
If someone would have came up, I would have known them and they were around.
Yeah.
And, things like that.
I understand. So whenever you step through there, do you continue walking or you call out or you start searching around?
Yeah, from where I stepped through the back, it's from like the back porch into the kitchen. And from there I was hollering like, the girl's name and stuff like that. Is there anybody here? The girl's name. And then literally like through the kitchen a couple of steps, which is just right in the back door, I was approached from the stairs by a guy with a gun. So somebody came down the stairs at you with the gun? Yep.
And I guess that was the victim?
You have 1 minute left.
What was your look on his face whenever he came down the stairs with a gun?
Well, it was, I was pretty scared.
Where was your buddy? Was he with you?
Yep.
Of the charges laid against Brandon, first-degree burglary and armed criminal action were two that media outlets reported on. In the state of Missouri, any crime committed with a weapon immediately gets the charge of armed criminal action, which carries a minimum of 3 years behind bars. The burglary charge, however, is rather controversial in this case. Yes, Brandon had crossed the threshold of the house, even though it was the home of a known acquaintance. This made no difference. But he did this without the intention to commit any crimes as far as we know. More so, due to the type of house it is, which we find out later in the interview, the possibility of there being other uninvited people in the house is extremely plausible. This generally does not fit the first-degree burglary charge he was found guilty of. Brandon claims that he called out multiple times before entering the house. He says he knew several people inside and didn't think twice about walking through the open door at the back, a door that was usually left unlocked. He mentions that he had been to the house many times before that day. However, according to the media, witnesses told police that Brandon entered the house while yelling in a threatening manner. This contradicts Brandon's own account of his behavior that day. We'll find out more about that after the break.
So where'd you say your buddy was? He was right there with you?
Yeah, he was right next to me, like literally by the sink.
And so the victim, Mike, is got the gun in his hand. Is he pointing it at you or is he saying anything?
Yeah, he like pointed it right in my face, like literally like, and I really was like, even besides being scared, like I really truthfully like wanted to understand why we even got to that point, because I even knew this guy before, and like literally I knew him, I knew her.
You knew the victim?
Yeah.
How'd you know the victim?
Well, we had talked before there. He had hung out at the house. Like I said, a lot of people was there. They were getting high there with her. People were just living there getting high. But I had met him several times there. Even we had an altercation there, too, and that's another thing that she had tried to bring up. Like, that I did something to him, maybe because me and him had altercation, but me and him had talked after that several times of me going over there with her, and everything was cool with me and that guy. I never had no problems with him whatsoever. So, that was...
Did the victim have meth in the system when they did an autopsy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that shows like paranoia and stuff with the gun, him just coming out instead of, if you're calling out names, then obviously he knows who it is.
Right.
But also,
She even said that she had seen me outside. They had seen me outside the bank, so I don't know why they were hiding or why, not even him, coming down, why with the gun, why not just say, hey, look, she's not here, or if she is here, you got to leave, things like that. I can accept it. I'm out. You know what I mean?
Meth is a powerful stimulant that can wreak havoc on the mind. One of the most alarming effects of long-term meth use is intense paranoia. The drug alters the brain's chemistry, particularly by flooding it with dopamine, leading to feelings of euphoria. But as meth use continues, this imbalance can cause users to experience extreme anxiety, suspiciousness, and even delusions. Paranoid thoughts often spiral out of control, making users believe they're being watched, followed, or conspired against, even when there's no evidence to support these fears. This paranoid mindset can lead to erratic, sometimes dangerous, behavior as the individual struggles to differentiate between reality and their meth-induced hallucinations. In the next episode, we finally wrap up Brandon Pritchard's story and hear his side of what happened that night in March 2021. We'll hear Brandon's version of the events and how the media misled the public into believing aspects of the case that were not true. If you want to find out what happens next, right now, you can sign up at patreon.com/voicesofakiller. There you can find bonus content, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community. So go to patreon.com/voicesofakiller to sign up now. Your support is what keeps us passionate about bringing these stories to you. That's a wrap on this episode of Voices of a Killer. A big shout out to Sonic Futures, who handled the production, audio editing, music licensing, and promotion of this podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, make sure to visit our website at voicesofakiller.com. There you can find previous episodes, transcripts, and additional information about the podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us improve and reach new listeners. Thank you for your support, and we can't wait to share more stories with you in the future. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Toby, and we'll see you next time on Voices of a Killer.